Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I would like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is for chapter webmasters, or maybe you're in a leadership team transition right now and you're the incoming webmaster. But basically, with BNI Connect, every single chapter that is part of BNI Connect has their very own chapter webpage. Now, what's great about these web pages is that they are part of BNI Connect, so that they're automatically pulling information out of BNI Connect. So they're populated with your chapter roster. They're automatically populated with all the membership profiles, as opposed to having to keep all of that stuff up separately. It is also branding compliant. It's using images and graphics and color schemes that are compliant with BNI branding. So before I get into all that, and while there's still some people signing into the webinar, just a couple of housekeeping things, and that is, this is a live webinar. So what that means is that if you have questions as we're going through any of the content today, please do feel free to ask those questions right away. You can just type those questions into the control panel, and I'll see them pop up on the screen, and I will be able to have a question and answer period with you. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes worth of content, so the actual show and tell portion is about 30 minutes. That being said, I will stick around as long as anybody has questions. So whether that's a few minutes of questions or an hour's worth of questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer those questions, either about the webmaster things today, or if you have any general questions about BNI Connect. The webinar today is being recorded. It will be made available in a couple of different places. The first place is on the support site. If you go to support.bniconnect.com, or if you click on this little question mark up here in the upper right-hand corner, that will bring you over to our support site. On the support site, you'll see our list of upcoming webinars, as well as, if you scroll down, chapter training and documentation that has a ton of different help articles in here. There's also a section called recorded webinars, and you'll see if you click on recorded webinars for September 2014, you'll see all of the webinars for 2014 in September here, and the one from today will be up here shortly thereafter. You'll also find them all hosted on our YouTube channel. So go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, and you'll see a ton of videos up here. We have the webinars by month, as well as a ton of things like educational moments, short 3 to 5 minute videos that you can even share with other chapter members or use as an educational moment in your meeting. So let's take a look at these chapter web pages, and what do they look like? What do they do? So I'm going to go to our test region, which is antarcticreferrals.com. This is our region on the live system up in Antarctica, kind of a cold place. But we do have a bunch of chapters up there. So if I was to go and look for a chapter up in Antarctica, I could put a name in or just click find. And we have a bunch of chapters, the Frosty 5 chapter, the Cold Hard Cash chapter. Let's take a look at the BNI Burr chapter. So I can see here, this is just the chapter details page and a list of members, but there's also a chapter website. And if I click on chapter website, this is a default website for a chapter as it comes right out of the box. AK asks, is this similar to the webinar from 820? Yes, this is very similar. This is an introductory webinar to the webmasters. So if you were here on a previous webinar, then it will be a lot of the same information. However, there's always usually different questions. So hopefully that answers your question there, AK. All right, so as I said, this is a default out-of-the-box webinar, a default out-of-the-box website. So it has your chapter location on the left-hand side, all of your leadership team information on the left-hand side, your member count, a default set of text here in the middle, a default graphic. It will have all of the chapter members listed on the chapter members pages. And you can click through to any of the members as well. So I could click through to Ricky Martin here, and I can see Ricky's profile, and he doesn't really have much of a profile filled out, but it does have his address and his phone number. I could go back to my chapter members, maybe take a look at Alfred Newman here. And it has a little bit more of a profile filled out, his name, his pictures, his My Business description, things like that. What's great is that it's all, again, it's populated from the inside of BNI Connect. Now again, this is a fairly basic chapter website, but there are some more advanced ones. So I know that there is a Golden Ideas chapter in San Francisco. So I'm going to do Golden Ideas BNI, and you'll see this is indexed by Google. So number of top searches here, and I could click on their Golden Ideas chapter and take a look at their website. And you can see that they've done some pretty cool things with their chapter website. So it still has the default information over here on the left-hand side. It populates their leadership information, their address, things like that. They decided to put a map in here. They've got a message from their president, a separate column on the right-hand side. All of their speakers, if you're entering your speakers into BNI Connect, that will all be listed here as well. They also have their chapter members. They were able to create a header in here that shows their chapter members by power teams. So this is all things. They have a gallery set up where they can take a look through some pictures of their location. But these are all things that you can do to customize your chapter web page. So what we're going to look at today is what you can do on these web pages, how to do that, and how to access this editor in BNI Connect. We do have a question here from Carol. Carol says, where are you located? I'm located here in Rhode Island in the United States. They say, Carol, she's from Canada. Right now, Canada, Australia, New Zealand are a couple of the few countries that are not in BNI Connect yet. However, they will be soon. We're looking at early next year to be migrating a lot of the remaining regions over into BNI Connect. But thank you for being here and learning about it well in advance. But yeah, we're looking at probably towards the end of the first quarter next year. So hopefully that helps, Carol. All right, so to edit your chapter web page, a couple of things. First, you do need to be assigned as a chapter webmaster by your regional office. So either your executive director, your director consultant in some cases, or your regional admin, they will have to assign you as a chapter webmaster. Once you're assigned the role of chapter webmaster, you will see a tools menu up here. So most people will see network operations and reports. Once you're assigned a chapter webmaster position, you will then see a tools menu. Under the tools menu, you'll see CMS and then chapter websites. This will take you into the portion that allows you access to edit the chapter websites. Now, I'm a system administrator, so I see all of the websites for the region. More than likely, if you are the webmaster for a single chapter, you'll just see one thing listed in here. So here I have the AntarcticReferrals.com, the Burr chapter website, and if I'd like to go in and edit this, I would click on this Edit icon under the Options column. Now, what this brings up is the back-end tools for editing this chapter site. Now, let's take a quick tour through this couple of pages here. Now, this first page is the directory structure or the structure of the website. Should be pretty straightforward if you've ever used any type of CMS editor, like a WordPress or something like that. All of this is fairly standard. So you can see we have our home page, we have our chapter members page, we have the sub-pages or the portions of the chapter members page, the member details, the chapter details, and the send message. There's a gallery page, and there's a news page. Down at the bottom, we'll see that there's two URL listed, and one of which is the preview URL and a live URL. Now, the way that these work is that when you're editing your chapter web page, so that the public doesn't see all of the changes you're making as you're changing them, you're actually working on a back-end copy of the website. That's what's called the preview page. Now, in order for the rest of the world to see all these wonderful changes that you're going to make, After you're done making the changes, you need to click Publish. What that does is it takes what you're working on, the preview page, and it overwrites the live page. So I'm going to click on this page, and you can see that here's the different sections that we were looking at. So we were looking at the home page, the chapter members, the gallery, and the news. So we have the home page, the chapter members, and you'll notice that there's no page for gallery, but there is one for news. Now the gallery page right now is hidden. So if we look at the gallery page, we can see on the right it says Show. The news page says Hide. If I'd like to use the gallery page, I would need to show this page. Are you sure you wish to show this page? Yes. I'm going to publish that change. And now if I go back to my web page here, we'll now see that I have a gallery page as well as a news page. George, I see that you've asked a question. I'm going to get to that in just 1 second. You'll also notice on here that there is a number of tabs along the top. We have the pages, we have the library, we have the site information, and the gallery. Now obviously the pages is all of these pages where we can edit the content. The library is where your images for your web pages are stored. So in order to put a picture on your website, you need to get it off of your computer and into the BNI Connect servers in order for them to be able to serve that image. You do that by uploading images into your chapter library. So we'd click on Library, and if we have, let's say, a picture that we'd like to display on our web page, I would click on Images, and then I'd go to Upload. Then I need to browse my computer for that particular image. So I can click on the magnifying glass, and let's say I'm going to go to pick some images here. Let's say I'd like to upload the Get Connected, Stay Connected logo. Maybe I want to upload this traffic lights, and then I'm going to do the BNI Connect logo as well. You notice I can click multiple images at a time. I just chose 3 images. I'm going to click Open. Lets me know that they're ready to upload, and I click Upload. And now I have those images in my library. Tom says, will images auto-size, or do I have to make sure it is a certain size? The images, you can upload any size you would like here. Once you put them into your web page, you will be able to size them accordingly. Jennifer says, where can we find the logos for BNI? So the logos for BNI, you can find the official logos on a site called bnibranding.com, bnibranding.com. And if you go to BNI Branding, there is a link here that says official logos. You don't need to log into the site to get these, but you can get the BNI logos directly from here. There is additional content available under there, but you need to talk to your executive director for access. Okay, hopefully that helps. All right, so you can also upload if you need to share links to documents or Flash objects. You can do that as well. I'm going to stick with just uploading a couple of images for today. Now the next tab over is the Site Information tab. Now most of the stuff on this page we're not going to want to touch, but up at the top here, one thing that you may want to look at is the chapter folder name. And George asked a question before, is there a way of shortening the URL address for the chapter websites? And you'll notice that our chapter website up here in the Burr chapter, by default, what it's going to do is take the region name and the chapter name and make a website name out of that. So what it did was, the URL for this is antarcticreferrals.com/shiver-region-bni-burr-chapter. That is a mouthful of a URL to try to tell to other people. So George, you absolutely can shorten these URLs, at least the back part of the URL. And you do that by changing this chapter folder name here. So rather than having it be shiver-region-bni-burr-chapter, I can take that out, and maybe I just want this to be the BRRR chapter. So I can tell people to go to antarcticreferrals.com/BRR chapter. Or maybe even I just want them to go to BRR, BRRR. When I click Update, that will then shorten the chapter name, and you'll see that the URL has already been shortened. That is a change that I do have to publish to make it active. But now I can go to antarcticreferrals.com/BRR and get right to that chapter page. Much easier to say and to use. So does that answer your question, George? Now, for those of you that may have already purchased a domain name for your chapter or things like that, you can also redirect your records of those to these chapter pages. So if you have something like www.bniburr.com or something, I could redirect this over to this chapter page. All right, so that's the Site Information tab. There are other options on here. If you are using Google Analytics, you can insert a Google Analytics code in here or any other analytics provider so that you can count clicks and who's been going to your website and things like that. I do not recommend, even though you can change the various buttons, these are these buttons up at the top, you can change what it says on those buttons, but I highly recommend leaving those alone, or at the very least checking with your executive director before you make changes. You can also change the Visit This Chapter link if you'd like to. That would change the verbiage here. The Visit This Chapter link brings you to a registration page in order to register to visit that chapter meeting. All right, going back, the very next tab is once you enable the chapter gallery, there is a gallery tab as well. And this is what allows you to upload some photo albums and things like that to your chapter website. If I wanted to upload something into the gallery, it's very similar to uploading to the library. I would need to create an album. So let's call this a summer get together. Photos of gathering. Click Submit. Now I have an album up here that I can add pictures to. So I can add some photos. These ones you have to do one at a time, but click Upload. And now I have a picture in there, and we can see that, let me go back and publish. But now in my gallery, I now have a picture gallery with a photo in it. Now you can do some interesting things with the gallery as well. As a matter of fact, there's a chapter out there called Mill River BNI. And if we look at their gallery, what they did was they turned that into a chapter news. And you can put some pretty long descriptions in with each picture in order to make this almost into a blog of sorts. So the gallery is a separate unit, so they don't have to go to the library first. The library is going to be for internal page pictures. So for example, again, the gallery is its own separate place. But let's say these images, let's say on the home screen, if I want to put my own images here, that's where we put things into the gallery. So hopefully that makes sense, Tom. I'll show you in just a second exactly what I mean by that. All right, so after you've played with the library and you updated your page name, now we want to go in and we actually want to update the content of that page. We want to change the words, change the text, maybe put some pictures up there. Well, we do that by editing the content. Now, you can also do things like edit the name of the pages. Like, let's say that you didn't want it to be home page, you want it to be called My Chapter. You can edit the name and change the name of the page if you'd like to. You can also add any meta tags. These will help your search engine optimization, make sure that you're found by Google and all of those other search engines out there. But really where you're probably going to spend most of your time is in the edit content. Now, next to each one of the pages and sections, you will see an edit content link here. So I would just click edit content next to, let's say, the home page. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this does open in a new window. A lot of people say, well, I click that link and nothing happens. If nothing happens when you click that link, check to make sure that you do not have a pop-up blocker active on your computer. It will block this pop-up from happening. But what we see here is the content editor for the page. Now what we're seeing is you'll see on the left-hand side, there's really nothing for us that we can change over here. That's because that's all stuff that's populated automatically from the inside of BNI Connect. If you recall, that's where our chapter leadership team and contact information and address for the chapter, all of that gets put in automatically. And the same thing with the bottom of the page. If your chapter speakers have been entered by your secretary-treasurer into BNI Connect, it will automatically populate the chapter speakers. What we're going to be concentrating on is this middle portion here, where the actual words and pictures go. So when you get into the middle part of this content, most of this is really just like working on a Word document. If you ever have created or edited a Word document, more than likely you can do most of the functions to update your website. Now, for any of you that are on the line with us today that are actual web designers or web editors out there, you can do some pretty advanced things. You may want to use the source code. This does allow you back-end access to the HTML coding. All you do is click the source button, and you can go in and even use another third-party editing software, copy and paste various source code into here. You can also use this as a backup of your site. So what I like to do is before I go in and start making a bunch of changes, I copy the source code. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up a notepad document here, paste that in, move it away, and if I make any crazy errors here, I can always go back and overwrite the source code to put it back to normal. All right, so let's take a look at some of the things that we can do. So the menu items up here, most of them are going to be fairly self-explanatory. There is a templates button if I wanted to change the look and feel of the site a little bit to put a different type of order to it, I could do that. All of these functions here are really very familiar: word editing, undo, redo, cut, copy, paste. One of the things to keep in mind when you're working with HTML in general, if you haven't worked with it before, you do want to avoid copying and pasting things from especially Word documents. When you copy and paste things into the editor here, if you're grabbing something from Word, it tries to bring over a lot of the kind of back-end stuff that Word throws on top of it. A lot of times it's going to try to replicate the font and styles and things like that, many of which just simply won't be available in this type of an editor. So when you're copying and pasting, there is a couple of special paste options here. Paste as plain text and paste from Word, where you could take the content from Microsoft Word, paste it into this box, and this will strip out any of the extra coding in there. This section in the upper right-hand corner has to do with building forms. It's a little bit more than we're going to be covering today, but it does have the capability to do that. Most of the rest of this, you can go through and you can type stuff in, you can make it bold, you can change things to italic, you can underline stuff, do some strike-throughs, you can put in some bulleted and numbered lists. You can increase and decrease indents and put in block quotations. You know, all sorts of things from a editing standpoint. You can change the justification, left to right, full justified. The next row is going to be things that are more web specific if you haven't used a CMS editor before. The first one is the link and unlink. Linking is when you want to insert a hyperlink into Word. So let's say that you're working on your page here and you say, visit the BNI HQ website. And you would like the BNI HQ website to be a link that brings them over to www.bni.com. So what I would do is highlight those words, click on link, and then put in where I want it to go to, www.bni.com. You'll notice that this then becomes underlined, and if somebody clicks on it, that will bring them to bni.com. It also works with things like send us an email. I can highlight the word email, click link, and for link type, I could choose email. I can start typing in a message, and click OK. And if somebody clicked on that, it would open up their email program and start a message. You can also put in flags and images. The anchors is if you have a really, really, really long web page, you can make people jump through the pages. Now, going back to, I believe, what Tom said earlier, if you want to put pictures on here, this is where you would use your library. That's what this image button is for right here. So if I want to insert an image on my page, I would place my image, figure out where I want to go, and then click the image button. I can click Browse Server, and this will bring me to the library. Now you'll notice there is some just default images that are up there already, but there's also the images that I uploaded earlier. So there's the BNI Connect logo, there's the BNI Get Connected campaign logo, and the traffic light symbol. So let's say I wanted to put this Get Connected, Stay Connected logo in there. I could do that. It gives me a little bit of a preview. That's pretty big for this page. Maybe I want to make it a little smaller. So I can maybe make this 200 pixels wide. That looks like it's going to be closer to the right size. I click OK. And now I have an image in here. So those ones are grabbing from your library. You can link images as well. So if you want this to really become a quote-unquote button, if I want somebody when they click on this image to go to, let's say, the support site for BNI Connect, I could highlight the image, click the link button, and have this go to support.bniconnect.com. Dennis has a question. He says, are there any other variables? For example, there's a tag up here at the top that says ## TYFCB. And what this does is it goes into BNI Connect and it pulls from your POMS report the last completed 12 months of thank you for closed business. At this time, Dennis, this is the only variable that's available. There is discussion of possibly some additional ones in the future, but for now, that is the only one that's available. Hopefully that helps. All right. Additional things, obviously, some you can put in the flash objects if you had any. You can insert tables in here. Some people also find it helpful to use tables to keep their images aligned. So that's another idea for using tables, and you can hide the lines in it. You can insert things like lines and smileys, and if you're looking for things like the copyright symbol, that's these special characters. You can find the copyright and the registered trademark symbols and things like that. Of course, you can change the font, although I highly recommend leaving it as Arial font because that is the BNI standard and branded font. But if you needed to, you could change it. You can also change the size. You can change font colors and, of course, background colors. Now, once you've doctored up your site and made it look all pretty, you can save it, which will bring you over to a preview. And if you're satisfied with it, Click Close. If you want to take another double check, you can click the preview URL to go and take a look at what the public is going to see soon. And then when you're ready, click Publish. Now when I go back to the live chapter, the rest of the world is seeing what we created, this gorgeous new website. The links should take us to the various places. So this clicking that Get Connected brought me over to the support portal. And if I click on BNI HQ website, it brings me to bni.com. And that, in a nutshell, is the basics of updating your chapter website. So we are at the bottom of the hour. For anybody that does need to leave right away, I do want to be respectful of your time today. So I thank you for being here. Just a reminder that this is being recorded. It is going to be made available probably by tomorrow or so on the support site. So if you go again to support.bniconnect.com or click this question mark in the upper right-hand corner, it will be made available in the chapter training and documentation under recorded webinars. Also on our YouTube channel, so that's youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. It will be uploaded here as well. This is where all of our videos are hosted. And I would love it if you gave us a like on Facebook. We have facebook.com/BNI Connect Global as well. We do webinar announcements and tips and tricks and all sorts of things up here on our Facebook page as well. What I'd like to do is open it up to any questions. Does anybody have any questions about the chapter webpage or anything else in BNI Connect? Dennis says, while editing the source code, can we use PHP code? I believe you can. To be completely honest, I am not a web designer expert. I know enough to be dangerous. We do have, by the way, a couple of people in support that are dedicated to this the public websites portion of it. If you have specific questions like that, let me see if, I don't know if Frank is around. I'm going to text him on the other line here and ask him this question. But if I'm not mistaken, the various pages are PHP pages. So my guess is that you can use PHP in there. So does that help, Dennis? Dawn says, thank you. Can I use the BNI logo on my business Facebook page and website? Yes, those BNI logos, if you'd like to say, yes, I'm a proud BNI member or something like that, that's what on the BNI branding page, that's what those logos are there for. You are asked not to alter them in any way for like colors and dimensions as far as, you know, amount of free space around the image and things like that. There's a branding guide that's available on bnibranding.com as well. Let's see. Tom says, are our local chapters backed up frequently? Do you mean these pages? Are they backed up? I mean, the BNI Connect server itself is backed up very, very, very regularly. From being able to restore them on an individual basis, that's not available to us on the front end in the event of a major emergency. Of course, the programmers, the web developers, the server management, they can do restores as necessary, but it's not something that we have access to on the front end. So when it comes to content, what I would say is that, you know, I personally, whenever I'm working on websites like this, I make my own backups of them. Since we don't really have a rollback. You know, for example, what I'm about to do right now, I'm going to go back to this edit content, and because I have this here, I'm going to copy and paste this and restore my website back to what it was before. I'm going to save that. I'm going to publish that. And now, fairly easily, I am back to where I was. So, I'm not sure if that helps, Tom. Any other questions? Questions? Tom says, so if I mess up my local chapter content, I should be sure I grab the source before I begin. Yes, and you know what, Tom, if you completely mess it up and you want to revert back to the defaults, just let us know in support, and we can do that for you as well. I mean, this is just a very standard default source code that's on the beginning of every single of these 6,000 or so chapter pages, so I can always grab one for you and restore it for you if it needs to be. What I couldn't do is, let's say that you make a bunch of changes and then you, like you're 5 versions into it and you want to roll back to version 3. I can't really help with that, but I can roll you all the way back to the original version. All right. What other questions? Dave says, why is my edit content link not live? On which one? On what, Dave? I'm not sure what you're referring to. So you don't have an edit content link here at all? Or are you saying when you click on it, nothing happens? Okay, so if you're clicking on this and nothing happens, you'll notice that this pops up in a whole new window. It would mean that you have some type of a pop-up blocker that is blocking this window from opening up. So you want to check in the browser. There may be, like in Chrome, there's a way to turn on and off the pop-up blocker or to allow pop-ups on this particular site. All right, excellent. All right, any other questions? All right, again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And a good referral for me is if you found this format, this webinar helpful, I would love referrals to our other webinars. We do run this whole series on a monthly basis, so we would love it to have people on our various webinars. Our next couple of webinars are for leadership teams specifically, Monday, October 6th and Wednesday, October 8th. And then we start the series over again with building VCP with BNI Connect, which is about filling out your profile on October 10th. So I do look forward to seeing you all on a future webinar. Oh, one last minute question here from James. Are there any predefined themes like WordPress? And unfortunately, there's no predefined themes, just the one theme that we have here. That's the default. However, that being said, check with your executive director. Some regions, what they've done is they've come up with their own themes that they can populate. Just by copying and pasting that source code, they can give you a theme that you can then further edit. So hopefully that helps, James. And for the pop-up blocker, by the way, Stephen has a suggestion. He says holding down the control key also disables the pop-up blocker. So if you hold down the control key while you click edit content, that should allow it as well. All right. I think that was it. All right, everybody, thanks again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Have an absolutely wonderful rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Happy connecting, everyone.